So, as an entrepreneur, how has the intuition you access and the spiritual part of yourself shown up in your business, Yaya?
In the last 2 years, I've done a lot of work in this area, and it pretty much shows up everywhere. So I've always been an intuitive decision maker and an intuitive mentor, but now every single thing is intuition. So if I'm going to talk about something, it's going to be intuition. Over the weekend, I intuitively built an AI agent to help people with something. All the new products I create are intuition. The people I hire are based off of intuition. The business decisions I make are built off. So pretty much everywhere. So, so that's how it's shown up.
So who are you and what do you do?
My name's Yahya. I am uh, a corporate 9 to 5 high performing CEO turned startup guy for about 7, 8 years. Turned, so I built startups for other people and I grew them to 3 million, 7 million US. And then I built my own AI agent startup about 5 or 6 years ago, depending on when we air this episode, 2019, back when COVID happened. And and then I built my consulting business, and I work with small, medium business owners, content creators, influencers, consultants, and I help them build, scale, and monetize their personal brands online. Those are the current labels from a business point of view. Besides which, I'm an athlete. Um, I'm a father of two beautiful children. I'm a husband and a son.
Lovely. And so it sounds like you have used your left side of the brain a lot in building up your business. And so
A lot.
a lot, yes, which many of us do, right? But that part of us that is the spiritual part. So you started with saying, it's showing up in everything. So was there a moment, a pivotal moment, like when you go, oh, I can access that without even really having to do much because it shows up, right? So was there a moment like that in your
Yeah.
career?
Yeah. So the pivotal moment was actually before I actively worked on it. The pivotal moment was, I don't know, 4 years ago, um, three, I'm not really good with numbers. It was 3 or 4 years ago where I started to operationalize creativity. And so so like you said, I've always been a big left brain because raised in a Western education system, raised as the eldest of three, told to seek my validation in my achievements, whether they were winning sports races or debate competitions or getting gold stars in school or getting A grades I did my O levels and A levels, which is the British system, which is, I think, high school. It's grades 12 and 13. So whatever that turns out for in the American
Mhm.
system. So from there you go straight to university. So raised in that, eldest of three, like, typical type A, high strung personality. Um, the I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I got a lot of positive reinforcement for being left brain in my life. So, which is not the best thing if you're wanting to sort of develop or become a well balanced person. And but then I have this joke with my wife: how many well balanced people do you see doing things in life, like doing any? Because if you're well
Mhm.
balanced, this is one of the jokes we crack about our children. Because we try to raise our children without putting pressure on them the way our parents. And me and my wife, we were both. My wife's a doctor,
Mm.
and you can imagine, like, being a doctor. I think anywhere in the world, being a doctor is like a difficult thing because you have to get
Yeah.
like 97% grades and then 4 years and whatever. So, like, I was like, they might be well balanced, but don't expect them to like do a lot of like change the world. But then we also subscribe to the philosophy that you can be well balanced, and if you follow your passion, you can actually skyrocket ahead of other people. So anyway, so being left brain, I got a lot of feedback. You won this race. You did this thing in sports. You did this thing in athletics. You won. You studied hard. You got good grades. Awesome. And so that was left brain. So the moment for me was when I started to use if we refer, I'm a huge fan of frameworks. So I
Mhm.
love frameworks. So I give frameworks to my clients all the time. So there's a framework by Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, which is there's 4 states of being: thinking, feeling, doing, and being. And the same framework has been adapted to Robert Moore's novel. The thinker is the magician, the doer is the warrior, the feeling is the lover, and the being is the king. So king, warrior, lover, magician. And so I spent the vast majority of my life earlier on as the thinker doer hybrid. And I was rewarded incredibly well. I was profiled in the companies I worked in, and they were like, "Yep, you're leadership material. You can think about heavy duty, difficult concepts, and you can, motivate people to get shit done. So we're going to promote you. Let's go. Make us $5 million." I was like, "Yes,
Mhm.
sir. Let's go." So anyway, I was using the thinker to operationalize creativity. I was thinking about frameworks of how I get other people to be creative again and again. Because in the online space, especially in 2026, where some people are organic, a lot of my clients are organic, and some of my clients run ads. With the new change in ads, with the way YouTube is changing and how it's going towards interest-based marketing, it won't matter how many followers and subscribers you have. So you won't be able to hack the system by buying subscribers. And so people will be forced to get good at content. Like they'll just be forced. And to get good at content, creativity is like a foundational cornerstone. And it's an entirely different argument about how AI is decimating a lot of people's creativity and then supercharging other people's creativity. But that's the challenge I had a couple of years ago. So I was like, how do I do it for myself? And I learned that I was doing it subconsciously. As a consultant and a coach and a mentor, one of my challenges is to teach other people what I do effortlessly. Because we're all born with gifts. And usually the caveat of a gift is you don't even realize you're gifted until someone else tells you you're gifted. So you might be, right? So you might be like, maybe you're good at speaking and you might be like, so this happened and then that happened and then this happened. And then somebody walks up to, because that's happened to me. A guy walked up to me and said, "Yeah, how do you speak on, like, how are you so confident on video? Did you get voice training? Did you get like whatever?" I was like, "No, dude, I've been on stage since school. So like, it's no biggie." So you
Au
don't realize,
naturel.
huh?
Au naturel.
Oh, natural, yeah. So the challenge is figuring out you're actually good and then breaking it down and turning it into a repeatable process so your clients can be good. Because I've seen a lot of coaches. I'm one of the anomalies where my experience in the online mentorship space has been overall a very good one, even after working with not the best of people. What I saw in all of them was they were all doing certain things subconsciously that was giving them the edge that they didn't realize was giving them the edge, and they attributed it to something else. And so I was like, I don't want to be that guy. But this is more based on my human design, and I don't want to be super woo-woo. But anyway, while operationalizing creativity, I realized my first online offer was reprogramming the subconscious mind, which helped me, which was originally intended for people with high stress and anxiety, because that's my story, because that's what I still suffered from. But anyway, I realized the subconscious is where everything happens. And so what I saw in myself was I was, without realizing, taking breaks, disconnecting while working. So I'll be writing copy for something, or I'll be figuring content out, or I'll be making a framework, and I'll just get up, walk over to the kitchen to grab a cup of coffee, or go play a game, or go ask my daughter, "What's up, baby? What are you up to?" Like randomly, my mind, and then I'd come back, and then I'd have an idea, and I'd do it. I'd incorporated walks, and I knew my best ideas would come to me when I was subconscious. So when I'm working out, when I'm walking in the morning, in the shower, best ideas, best. And so very soon it became apparent that my best stuff never comes when I'm sitting in front of a computer staring at a screen. So I was like, all right, cool. What am I doing? Well, what's happening right now? Something is happening on a subconscious level. My mind is putting two and two together, figuring out complex things. That's when it occurred to me that the thinker in me need not think for things to happen. The thinker in me actually needs to stop and disconnect and go do something else, and then let the heavy subconscious do the lifting. That's the first time I realized it. And I was like, I need to go down this rabbit hole. I need to discover, like, I need to figure this out. So,
Wow. I got chills as you say that about the thinker in you. And I just love the stories of how it shows up, how that intuition, that inner wisdom, whatever someone wants to call it, how that shows up. And it's innate. That's what I hear you saying. It's innate in all of us. So accessing that creativity, that right brain access, abilities, gosh, finding ways to do that. And so I love what you're saying in the sense of, getting up. And I find the same thing when I'm up first thing in the morning, like it just flows in. I don't have to do anything because Tom's like, "Yeah, that was a great content today." I said, "Okay, it just flew in, I did it, and I'm done." Right? I mean, so it's finding those times. But so do you work with clients on them accessing that ability also?
yeah, I do.
Hmm.
Um, In fact, that's one of the main things I work with clients on now. And going forward, so like there's a lot of context, but going forward, anybody who works in my program, they're first going to get access to a couple of AI agents that are going to diagnose their human design, their business stage. They're going to interject in this, overlap the two together. There's another beautiful framework and a test called the 7 frequencies of communication that show the 3 main frequencies that everyone communicates at. What's the primary? What's the secondary? What's the tertiary? It's by Erwin McManus, who's a global speaker. He's a pretty cool guy. That's the agent I made over the weekend because I wanted to roll that out to my people to let people understand who you naturally are, what comes naturally to you, what frequency comes. So I'm a huge fan of and a staunch advocate of not working on weaknesses, but instead working on strengths, because strengths usually lie where gifts lie. And so a strength will, and to give you an example, my daughter is an artist, always has been, always will be. And my son is a logic-brained, very situationally aware, empathetic human being. So my son hadn't done his homework and my wife was freaking out. She's like, you haven't done your homework, da, 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 da. And he was like, okay, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, typical boy. Weekend, 9 o'clock at night, he's like, Mama, I haven't done my work. She's like, now you tell me. So anyway, she opened it up. It was like math sequences or shape recognition. Or so he's like, oh, this is easy. Boom, 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 boom. He just did it in 5 minutes. My wife's like, he's a genius. How did he do that? He didn't even realize it was easy for him because it was easy for him. He's the guy sitting, he's 8 now, but ever since he was like 5, he's been sitting across me reading subtitles on movies and trying to spell the longest words. And be like, Baba, what does that mean? Does Terrapan relate to pterodactyl? How is that? Like his mind just picks it up. My daughter, completely different creature. My daughter lives in a world of her own. And she will randomly sit down and I'll walk into a room and she'll be doodling something or she'll be creating something. And then, 30 minutes later, 2 days later, she'll come to me. She's like, look what I created. And it'll be like some beautiful piece of art with lamination and acrylic and da 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 da. And then, she'll go win an art competition. She's always won art competitions. She'll bring home gold. She's a creative editor. She's got that vibe. These are strengths. And so the example I give is imagine us hiring like an art teacher for my son and imagine us hiring like a math logic teacher for my daughter. We would stun their creativity.
Yeah.
And so that's my approach. And that's why I think everyone, I run a program called the Bold Brand Blueprint. I believe that everyone, especially people mid-20s and later, has become a brand. Like there are certain things they feel strongly about. There are certain experiences they've had in the world. There are certain convictions they've developed, unpopular or popular. And if they were only to highlight them in the frequency that comes most naturally to them, they turn into a magnet. The problem is that society's conditioned them to believe otherwise. You're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not professional enough, you're not insert whatever society thinks about you enough. And so the problem actually doesn't come from not knowing what to do. The problem for most people comes from knowing the wrong thing to do and being taught the wrong thing to do or the superficial thing to do. So it's like, I often joke about it because people come to me for messaging, like my messaging is bad, like help me fix my messaging. I'm like, all right, what have you done so far? Well, I hired a coach. She told me to wear dark colors so people take me seriously. She told me to get pictures taken on a stage so people think I'm an authority. She wrote out this beautiful landing page for me. But from a left brain, I'm like, okay, you've done all of that. How are you driving traffic? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
So what if you've got like so I don't believe. And I think in 2026, one of my predictions from the market is that a lot of people, especially in the online consulting space, mentorship space, have become very sophisticated. They've worked with the "I'll make you rich" style quick coaches, and they've had their dreams shattered. People are very attuned to who's walking the walk versus who's only talking the talk.
Oh, I love it you say that. And I know that you and we met in a container with a leader around the world. And what I found with that container is the resonancy, which I'm sure you could speak of this too, is that when I at first I resonated with this person, and then after a while the resonancy changed, and I was like, okay, and that to me that's a big component of my energy and who I am as a soul, because if it no longer resonates, it's time to move on. And I have no problem at all going, okay, goodbye. So I know for you, as a male, working as an entrepreneur in the world, finding that resonancy and then also attracting and magnetizing people towards you that will resonate with you. Have you found that to be true, that, usually they say what, that we're like a step or two ahead of those who want to rise with, to where kind of we're at.
As the Earth's crust shifts and changes, our lives do the same. One way to maneuver through the small and large moments that shake us to the core is by reviving your connection to spirit, gathering ways to cleanse your energy field, embracing spiritual awarenesses to give you a bigger picture, and knowing that you are not alone on your journey can be a great support. The Soulquake Survival Guidebook is a great companion to meet you where you're at and support reviving your connection to spirit in earth-shaking times. Get your copy today through Amazon worldwide in paperback, ebook, or in audio, and begin embracing more clarity, inner peace, and enthusiasm for your life and what you've come to do.
Have you found that true?
Yeah, I have. In fact, that again is one of the foundational things we do in the bold brand blueprint, where I encourage my people. Like, so everyone comes to me and is like, yeah, I want to be a magnet. I want to be a client magnet. I'm like, you do realize that with resonance comes dissonance as well. Resonance and dissonance go hand in hand. You can't be a universal magnet. You can't have, like, whatever the world's population is, everyone fall in love with you. It doesn't work that way. And you have to be okay with that. The problem is most people aren't. They want to be magnets, but they don't want to repel people. They want everyone to understand them perfectly. I'm like, you have to be willing to be misunderstood. And the more, and this is where people, so obviously the first thing is people are afraid to be themselves because society's taught them that you're not enough. And then the second thing is people have this inherent fear of offending people and getting canceled in today's world, like cancel culture. Don't want to say the wrong thing. What if people like me? What they don't realize is that there's probably 30, 40, 50 times more people sitting on the sidelines, watching them silently, waiting for them to be the person they're supposed to be so that they can buy from them. And so they're so afraid of looking at the people, worrying about what if they, one of the best things, in my opinion, so like sometimes people in my community will get a hater. Yeah, I
They're
ran
out there.
and this person said I'm a scammer. I'm like, okay, cool. For me, it's a rite of passage. There's two things in the online space that are rites of passage. Being copied. The first time you're copied, you're like, okay, cool. Someone noticed me. And then the second rite of passage is getting hate. Like you have to. If you are being yourself enough and you are unapologetically being yourself, you are bound to ruffle the feathers of some people who think the concept of you being you should not exist because it unnerves them and makes them insecure on such a deep level. Now, most people, 99.9% of people, do not look at their insecurities and are like, maybe I should work on myself. No. They're like, something's wrong with him. Like, this guy lied. Or this unfair advantage. This guy was born into whatever wealth. This woman is pretty. That's why and I've heard all of that. Like, I've been through that stuff, even in corporate. Like, the most basic thing to do to distance yourself from having to do the work is telling yourself some weird ass story about why the other person's successful. And so, yes, it is everyone is a walking, talking magnet that they cover with, like, God knows how many layers of lead, and then they complain why no one notices them, why no one is attracted to them, why no one is drawn to them, etc., because they're not using their resonance.
Right. You know what I love about this conversation, Yahya, also is the fact that, this innate ability is within all of us. And so what you're showcasing is nothing woo-woo, nothing weird, nothing like out of the range of someone's going to go, what the heck's he even talking about? But recognizing that, we all work with this ability every day. So I know before we got on, I talked just a few moments about, work. And since I've been going back to work and I've been over the, at a real 9-to-5 job and in a corporate, even though it's not a huge corporate, but it's a good size corporate, for over a year. And so every single day I move in and I work with my energy. I work with others' energies. I work with what I'm picking up on, or I can sense who's going to call me, and here they call me on Teams. So it's quite interesting to be able to trust that ability. And I know that, I also conversed a little before, through email that, people who are in business, a lot of times they lack that trust. They lack that innate ability. So how do you work with people like that come, that go like, That's kind of weird. Or how do you work with that? Did that make sense?
Yeah. So to make sure I get what you're saying is we have that ability. How do we work with people who don't have that ability?
Yes, especially like in the workplace. And maybe like
Okay.
and people believing and trusting in that ability.
Okay. That's a good question. I'll tell you what I do. I
Yeah,
don't know if I don't
perfect.
think everyone can do it, but I'll tell you what I do.
That's great.
Um, so I will once in a while get clients and who are like that. Obviously, they don't call it that; they call it something else. But I know they're like that. And so, again, I'll give you the online space as example, but I've seen this across industries. People are led to believe the dream, like get rich quick, just show up on social media, you make $10,000 a month, da 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 da, which is true. I believe it too. If you go through my case studies, you probably like a lot of my case studies. Their claims look like scammer claims. So like $30,000 working 2 hours a day. Like even I have trouble believing it. But when
Right.
you watch the case study, you'll understand how we did it and what we did,
Yeah.
etc., etc. And in this industry, we have a same, especially in marketing, we have the Hormozy value equation, which is when you create an offer or when you create advertising, make the effort and sacrifice low, make the time low, meaning the time needed to achieve the result, make the effort and sacrifice low, and just make it ridiculously easy for people to get, which is fine. You can do that. My concern, and this is a bone of contention, a bone to pick, or a point of contention I have with the industry, is they shy away from saying who this is easy for. And so I'm willing to bet if I hadn't spent 20 years building brands in corporate, my own personal brand when I moved to the online space, or my own AI company when I launched it 5, 6 years ago, would not have grown the way it did. Because I wouldn't have had the patience, I wouldn't have had the perseverance, I wouldn't have had the guts to stand in front of presidents of banks and the banking association and be grilled and interrogated, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things have contributed to my sense of self, my sense of self-worth, and also my sense of self-trust. So I usually, the signs for people like these when they work with me is when I send them to the first 3 videos in my program are like, welcome to Record Breaker, how to guarantee you fail in this program. So I just list out failure. I call it the failure uniform. It's not my word.
Mhm.
One of my coaches taught me this. I'm like, if you're wearing the failure uniform, you're going to fail.
Mhm.
One of the things in the failure uniform for the overly, and there's a lot of things like not taking responsibility, waiting for me to approve everything, or perfectionism, the usual things. One of them also is almost as a joke, and please don't take offense for whoever's watching, because Teresa won't, she's known me long enough. It's like blaming the damn moon for everything. Because I actually had a client for a year, and every time she showed up, Mercury's in retrograde, the moon is this. I'm like, dude, like I've told you what to do. Just go and do it. Like the rest of us, right? I get it, but some people use it as a crutch. So for people
Absolutely.
like that, I'll send them to the first 3 modules and I'll say, what stood out? What stood out for you? For these type of people, the ones that you're talking about, they'll be like, oh, it's nice, good mindset stuff. You know, I'm also into mindset. It's nice stuff. Now let's get down to the real thing. And for me, the real thing is what they just said as, oh, that's nice stuff. And so I will sit down with them, and I've had these conversations. I remember once I had a client, he came to me because he wanted to be a performance coach, a lovely late 20s, 30-year-old Swedish, and I'm not sure if he was Swedish, but he was from somewhere
Up in that
around
area.
Sweden, up in that area.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a performance coach. And I was like, okay, cool. What have you done in your life? Like, what's the thing that we're going to use from a marketing angle? He said, no, I've just worked very hard and I'm studying right now how to help people become performance coaches. So I was like, maybe don't market that, dude, because we don't have like, you don't have results. Like, why would people buy from you?
Hmm.
Extremely friendly guy. And he had an incredible achievement where he worked for a social cause. I think he worked with orphans or he had run a company that was a non-profit company and helped. I can't remember whether it was orphans or it was like it was destitute people on some level, uh, or maybe ADHD. I don't think there's a cause for ADHD, but maybe I'm getting my facts a little wrong. So I said, why don't you market to those people? Like you've done incredibly well. And he said, no, he had the same problem and he wanted to not acknowledge that part of him. He was like, this is what I see in people where they have reality that they don't want to acknowledge and aspirational thing that they want to acknowledge. I've had people come to me and be like, I want to help teach people how to make money online. And I'm like, how much money have you made online? Zero, but I'm really passionate about it. I'm like, dude, it doesn't work that way. You can be passionate about something, but unless you have proof or you've delivered other people. So like I have this other client, she's been like a head nurse in the hospital sector for 20 years. And she's worked with people who have what's the liver disease where you're dialysis. She's worked with patients on dialysis for 20 years.
Yeah.
She's probably worked with thousands of patients by now. And her conviction was, I want to reframe the world's belief that being on dialysis isn't a death sentence, meaning eventually you don't go for dialysis and then a couple of months later die, because that's how people think about it. She had imposter syndrome. She was like, well, I'm not on dialysis. I was like, doesn't matter. You've worked with thousands of people. So in your case, it doesn't. So you have to have one of these two things. Either you need to have done it yourself, or you need to have worked with hundreds of thousands of people. This guy was neither.
Right.
And so I sat him down and I was like, no, what you're asking. And then we kind of had a conversation where he was like, just tell me what to say. Just tell me how to close people. He was very friendly, lovable, beautiful, loving person. So he had no problem booking sales calls, but no one bought from him because no one took him. The authority was missing and people could sense that. So he said, just give me a script that forces people to buy from me. And I was like, that's psychopathy. I'm teaching you what old school dating coaches used to teach men about how to trick women into going on, like go to the ugly one next to her, pay the ugly one a compliment, then wink at her 3 times, then pull your ear, then turn her. Like it's a learned psychopathy.
Okay.
You're learning something, you don't know why you're learning something, you don't know how it works. And so I was like, no, either you work with me and we do it right, or I'm not your person. So that was a hard conversation to have the first time around, but since then I've had a couple of them. And I'm also a huge believer in having hard conversations. So I just flat out tell them, like, this is the flaw, whether you like it or not, whether you admit it or not. He was like, nope, I don't want to admit it. I do not want to do it this way. Please don't coach me on this. I was like, too bad, so sad. I'm going to coach you on what I feel like coaching you. And if you don't like it, you can leave. Now, I know this is probably sounding arrogant, but it's a lot easier for me to have this conversation the moment I see it, Teresa, because I've worked with hundreds of people. I know this like I can predict behavior like the back of my hand. And like people don't believe this, but most of the time it's not a strategy. All strategies work. It's some weird story running in the person's head.
Well, I love where you started with this conversation with this part of it, Yahya, in the sense of, having those woo-woo people that come in that express, I know this about the moon and this about that and this about the crystals, and like it's so unrealistic. Even for myself, I've played in those fields for a couple decades now. I'm like, you need to be grounded, you need to be balanced, you need to be. And so I love the fact that you're able to, whoever comes to the door, I say walk to the door, but through your door of entrepreneur online, you can work with them because you've got that ability within you to tap in and also recognize, okay, this is how I work with them. This person, that's how I work with them. Like the gentleman who's, unrealistic about like how to really make money online because he hasn't made any money online. It's like, that's a real gift, honestly.
We exist in a highly intellectual world, and often the feeling part where your inner wisdom lies gets left out. There's a way to feel more in balance with all parts of yourself. This way is by accessing a spiritual bigger picture of who you are as a soul. Check out the link in the show notes to access a free video series created by the Wayshowers College to support your journey and moving through this game of life. Your intellect and feeling parts will love it.
I think that's also my intuition. It's one of my intuitive powers to be able to discern. I used to think it was just enough reps, but when I went deeper into my human design, I'm just wired to see behavior and patterns that way. So I'm not surprised one of my convictions is words lie, behavior doesn't. So when I teach psychology or when I teach marketing or content, I'm like, stop listening to when I teach my clients how to reverse engineer the marketing they're being exposed to. I'm like, don't read the words.
Right.
Look at the funnel, watch the behavior, see what's
Yeah.
happening.
Okay, so I'm curious. I mean, because I've delved a bit into human design. So, what are you? Just curious.
I'm a manifester, 1/3.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm a my bad. I'm a generator, 1/3. I didn't
Oh,
even get that
generator.
right.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay.
I'm a
Yeah.
1/3 generator.
Hmm. Okay.
So I don't know my design like to incredible depth and detail because I was introduced to it a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago ish, maybe a year and a
Mhm.
half ago, something like that. Um, but I'm an 80/20 guy, so I look at 20% that moves 80%. And the whole reason why I resisted human design is because the people who were pitching it to me were people I would never take advice from. So
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
people with, it's like, you go to the gym and the skinny guy at the gym comes up to you and says, let me teach you how to pack on 25 pounds of muscle. I'm like, no, dude, no, don't
Yeah.
teach me how to pack, right? Or,
Not going to
or the
happen.
fat guy who's like, yeah, let me teach you how to get abs. I was like, nope, don't
Right.
teach me. So
Walk
it's
your
like
talk.
people who, yeah. So for me, I have an inherent distaste for addiction probably because I've had my own journey with being addicted to smoking, tranquilizers, weed, what else? Food. Yeah. So one of my things is I don't like using things. I like using frameworks and compasses and guiding um, things. I don't or tools. I don't like using things as a crutch. And I've seen some family members get addicted to medication. I worked
Yeah.
in the stress and anxiety space. I've seen people addicted to mood stabilizers 20 years after they were supposed to have stopped. They're still on mood
Wow.
stabilizers.
Hmm.
So I know this thing about addiction. And so for
Hmm.
me, I have a program on subconscious reprogramming and meditation, but I don't meditate every single day because part of me is like, don't want to be addicted to meditating. Like I know when to meditate
Hmm.
when my mind's an absolute mess. And I forget where I was going with this, but what was your question? Can you
Well, we
remind me?
started with your human design,
Yeah.
the generator.
So
So,
so that's why, although I can look up I built out agents that are trained on designs. So I will use my design to cross-reference it with what sort of business and what sort of people do I work with best. So to give you an example, I work with high agency, self-led people. That means if I hire someone who needs handholding, not a good idea. Probably should get rid of
mhm.
them. Similarly, I like businesses or I like days. I like having days off on my calendar. I'm not built to work 5 days a week or 7 days a week. And so I
Right.
built that into my thing. Similarly, I was taught to monetize. I don't know if I was taught or maybe I just assumed this, but in the online space, we're taught to monetize time or effort. That was my default, which is wrong. Apparently, what I should be monitoring is one of those things that I don't realize that other people realize that my design pointed
Mhm.
out. I monetize, and hopefully in 2026 I'll do more of that. The outcome. So it's a lot of inflections it gives you about who you are and how you think. So the 1/3 essentially means that I'm designed to experiment and trial and error and fail forward. And then I'm also designed to once I figure it out, to come back and share it with the world. So I'm not surprised that I keep creating new frameworks and new things that work because they're working for me. Then I share it with my clients. The thing holding me back was waiting to get it right. And so for me, the big unlock was you don't need to wait to get it right. People like being on the journey with you in your content. I mean, you probably see my content. A lot of
Mhm.
my content is not, hey, let me teach you the perfect way how to. It's like, hey, I'm doing this. Here's what I see.
Mhm.
Take it. It helps you.
Mhm. Exactly.
And so these are the unlocks for me. Um, does that help from a human design
Yeah,
perspective?
yeah. I was just curious, because I
What do you
don't know
mean?
my numbers. I'm a projector.
Ah, I think
Yeah.
my wife's a projector, 6'4", if I'm not wrong. She's either a manifest or a projector, I'm not sure. So anyway, so what about you?
Well, I mean, I don't know too much about it, but I know that the one thing is I have to have a strategy. I have to wait in
Yeah.
order to be invited in to lead.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. So how do you This is a fun one. How do you deal with that? Like, how, because I've seen most people's responses when people speak to me about this, it's like, I shouldn't initiate something. I shouldn't do something. I should just sit and wait. And then I tell them, so, but what if no one knows you exist?
Right.
What if you have a
Yeah.
talent and no one knows you exist and you're sitting there waiting for people? So, like, I'd love to hear how you do this or what your take on this is.
Well, I know there's all kinds of different variations of human design, gene keys,
Yeah.
all kinds of astrology. Like there's a whole makeup of us, right? So I just take this as a kernel of my makeup because
Okay.
honestly, yeah, I initiate so much.
Yeah.
I always call myself a border collie because I can herd people in and
Mm.
I can round people up to to go on towards a cause or towards an event or something. So I don't see myself like waiting
Mm.
for an invitation that much, which is quite interesting. One thing about projectors too, which I do find this true, but I'm not doing this right now either, is I'm not a person that should be working, 8
Yeah.
or 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's not good for me, but I'm doing it at this moment because this is where I'm at this time. But that's also not how I really efficiently roll. I need to have, I only work like maybe 4 hours real strong. And then the rest is just my creativity.
Yeah, that's pure projector energy. 2 to
Mhm.
4 hours of
Yeah.
like mind-blowing, incredible output, and then they need time to source. So, my take on initiating is I'm the same, meaning I
Mhm.
have to wait to be invited.
Mhm.
But the way I interpret it, and for me, the unlock was I am at my best when I'm doing something that I'm passionate about,
Mhm.
regardless of studying, learning, creating, teaching, sharing. Like everything that I'm sharing with you right now is what I happen to be passionate about right now.
Right.
For everyone watching, none of this was rehearsed. Like Teresa didn't send me a bunch of talking points and stuff like that. That works perfectly for me because it's
Mhm.
true, it's in the moment, it's coming off of how I'm feeling.
Yep.
Maybe it's not perfect. There's a bunch of ooh, ah, ums, that are along the
Yeah.
way. I record YouTube the same way. I do all my stuff the same way.
Mhm.
And so for me, I don't know about you for projectors, but for my design, I can share my agent with you, and you can just have a conversation with it, and it'll tell you how to build a business, how to create content,
Mhm.
relationships that's based on your design. But for me, it's not sitting around all day long twiddling my thumbs and waiting to
Mhm.
be invited. It's more doing the stuff that I love doing. And fun fact, you know how I told you I was trying to reverse engineer creativity? I
Yeah.
was also trying to reverse engineer my highest cash months. This is
Uh-huh.
even earlier. So like maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like a lot earlier. And the thing I realized was that none of my highest cash collected months were me going hard balls to the wall, having sales calls after sales calls, signing people on, etc. Like it was
Yeah.
never. And it frustrated me to no end because being a left brain linear cause and effect believing person, I was like, but why is it not? And then, friends of mine were like, well, sometimes there's a lag period. So you work really hard 1 month and then 2 months later you get it. Other people were like, well, you've built a brand. So because the opposite would be true as well. Like months where I wasn't putting what I thought was effort, I'd be making
Mhm.
a ton of money. People would be reaching out, wanting to work with me. So I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, this is crazy. And they're like, well, you worked 2 months, you worked really hard 2 months ago. And so the lag is catching up with you. And now people are working with like a lot of
Mhm.
logic-based explanations.
Yeah.
What I learned was, so to be very honest with you, money doesn't excite me uh, the way people would think it would excite an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
It pays the bills. So I need a certain amount, and it gets things done. But it's not like I start high fiving myself every time I see my bank account jump up. For me, right now the excitement is creating something that I'm proud of. Therefore, a ton of agents that I've made, like I'm extremely proud of what I create. Being excited when I sign people on because I can see how I'm going to change their life, and I'm a people's person. I like people, so you know,
Mhm.
and then going down rabbit holes. So before you, I don't know why, I was randomly studying Figma and Adobe Express because I'm a Canva
Mhm.
user,
Mhm.
and Figma and Adobe Express are some of the new design tools. And like,
Mhm.
I don't know why I was stuck, but I was like, on YouTube for like 2 hours looking at, all right, what's cool? Oh, design, typography, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
So for me, this is my design speaking, by the way. I will go down rabbit holes. I will figure things out. I will come out the other end extremely excited, wanting to share it with the world. and I will make money from it. And people will pay me a lot of money to be part of my journey. The best example is a program I launched 5 weeks ago called Paid to Exist. Sold out in a week. I launched it first to my clients, then my alumni, then people on my wait list, then people who'd attended a mass. So I never really I broke all best practices. I didn't have a launch sequence. I thought of it and launched it in a week's time.
Wow.
But it had been gesticulating in my mind for about a year. The things had been clicking in, like, this needs to happen like this. This should be like this. And it's one of the best things. And once this cohort is over, because in another 5 weeks it'll be over, I might turn into a digital product. I might run part 2. Now, Paid to Exist has given birth to 2 more AI agents, which can be monetized on their own.
Awesome.
So can you see how one thing leads to another, which leads to another, which leads to another? And it's all born of my passion. It's not the thing that can throw me off is thinking, okay, what's the magic thing that the market needs? So manipulative scientist, how do I explain it best to you? Non-energy, unemotional, detached, clinical way of developing products can hurt me because I might develop an amazing product, but I may not enjoy fulfilling it. I may not enjoy delivery. So I don't like the energy of obligation.
Right.
I don't like the energy of resentment. So I have to enjoy fulfilling it. I have to feel strongly about it. And so it's got to be the happy marriage of a product that's validated by the market. And I knew Paid to Exist was validated because I had a community full of people who are struggling with the things that I exist in that I address in Paid to Exist. So for me, it's got to be, I need to be very excited about it, and it's got to make sense to the market. And I know for a fact and that's when my highest months happen.
Love it. Love it so much. So
does that help?
Absolutely, for sure, Yahya. And so, we started this conversation with how you are a very tuned in entrepreneur, to your intuition, to, flowing with the channel of what comes at different times, right? When you're out walking, when you're in the shower, and different times that you may not be sitting in front of the computer. So I always like to end and just ask you a question about enthusiasm. So, and where you're at right now and what you're accessing and moving through your journey with, what is the one thing that you would like to leave the listeners with that gives you the most enthusiasm to keep going with what you're doing? Whether you are a brand new or returning fan of this podcast, we appreciate you. We appreciate you listening to the episodes that we create every single week. If you would love to support us by continually creating great content every week, please consider liking, subscribing, and supporting us monthly. You can find the buttons below to do all the above. Cheers to you and moving into our 6th year of sharing through podcasting. Oh, just one. Yeah, that's all. Or more than one.
I think, take it for what it's worth, but I think one of the things I've struggled with my whole life is having low self-worth. One of the things I've struggled with my whole life is being a people pleaser. Associating my worth with real world achievements, results, rewards, money, whatever. And so the thing that I'm most excited about, most enthusiastic about, and I wish your readers can take this in the spirit it's intended, is basking in the glory of my own magnificence. Because when I bask in the glory of my own magnificence, sky's the limit. Like without sounding arrogant, I'm a Leo. I've been told by a lot of people, you arrogant little.
I'm a Leo too, buddy.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to own it. Sometimes, I saw this reel where someone said, Leos think they're the center of the universe, and then they showed the solar system, and the sun is right in the freaking middle, and everything. like, dude, you might as well step into it. And yeah, I've had deeper conversations about this based on my frequency and how my parents tried to, at some point in time, subdue the energy. My childhood, my dad was like, you think you're arrogant, da 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 da. It's a lot of family drama, but the more, maybe it's my age now where I don't care. Maybe it's maybe I have nothing left to prove to the world because I built enough things. I built 5 businesses. But yeah, the more you bask in the glory, and everyone, all your readers, you need to spend time basking in the glory of your magnificence. And the more you do it, the more excited you become about what is true for you as the human potential for the rest of the world.
I can feel that. And I love it being a Leo. I love basking in the glory. I love being the center of the universe. So I'm right along with you, Yahya. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. It's been so enlightening and uplifting. And I think that the listeners will gain a lot of insights for wherever they're at in their journey, especially around, their business and that right and left side of the brain. I think that's a real important aspect. So thank you, Yahya.
My pleasure. It was awesome.
And I want to thank you all out there for listening to another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. And if you're interested in connecting with a very well-balanced, connected man who's out there doing his entrepreneurship work in the world, you can look in the show notes and check out Yahya's links and connect with him. He's amazing. And until next time, just remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.